Hello all, this is the Casual Noom Gamer back at you with another video. Oh yeah, video, yeah. So this video is going to be about Xbox. I know they haven't been in the news for a while, but I kind of got this idea. I'm saying to myself, what if, because the plan, I believe the plan, I mean, I don't even assume to know what the internal idea was at Xbox years ago, but back in like 2018, 2019, Xbox started talking about, because they really didn't have a lot of games really, I guess, coming out that maybe were lighting the world on fire for the Xbox One at the time. And that's when they first announced a bunch of studio acquisitions. And the plan was they also introduced Game Pass at that time around, I believe, like 2018, because I think I had Game Pass in 2018. And the plan was to acquire these studios to basically have all these games that would be releasing on Game Pass in a good cadence. And it wasn't until I would say around 2022, 2023 maybe, I don't remember exactly what it was, when Xbox really started getting like a good cadence, the word cadence, to get like just a bunch of games releasing to be able to go to Game Pass, because the initial thought was that first party games would go day one to Game Pass, and then they would, you know, filter in some third party games and stuff like that. Not exactly exclusives, but the fact that they were on Game Pass made it to the fact of, well, it technically was, the closest thing to what Microsoft wanted to do with exclusives, because Satya Nadella has come out publicly and said that exclusives are a thing that basically, to quote exactly, but to paraphrase or whatever, he basically said that PlayStation is the console that is making a big deal about exclusives, and if it was up to Satya Nadella, that he would do away with exclusives. He doesn't like it. And if you look at, Satya Nadella runs Microsoft, not Xbox, but in turn, I guess, he has a big say in what Xbox does. The way that Microsoft always ran with Windows is that Windows was on everything. There was no boundary that it was like, oh, Windows can only run on this. It's kind of like, well, if an operating system can handle it, then Windows can go there, and Windows kind of, has to work well with all companies, and you can't have up barriers saying that only certain things will work. Like Windows needs to be integrated in kind of everything for it to be able to be the operating system of a person's computer, for it to basically work everywhere and kind of do everything, I guess. So the mentality of how Microsoft has made the bank that they have is to work nicely with everyone. And the mentality, at least for years, it's not as much now, of these companies was to have what's called the walled garden approach, where basically, Xbox stuff only works on Xbox, and it never went to PlayStation. Now, recently, and PlayStation has been doing this now recently too, they've been taking down the barrier. A lot of Xbox and PlayStation have releasing their games. You know, PlayStation does it a few years after release on console. They'll release stuff to PC. And now Xbox has started to release a lot of their first party games, you know, sometimes a few months later to PlayStation. And now PlayStation has announced that they have hired a position to bring a lot of their games, not all of them obviously, but some games especially, I would say probably the live service, like Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox, and that was a PlayStation exclusive, even though it was made by not PlayStation, but I think it was PlayStation published. Don't quote me on all these facts. You know, look up your information yourself. But the gist of it is that these games are moving elsewhere. So PlayStation and Xbox will be playing together kind of nicely for now, at least this generation. But my question is, like right now, Xbox, I believe the information that we have publicly is that, or at least rumor wise, is that PlayStation has sold like 3-1, or I've even seen like 9-1. So for every Xbox Series system out there that was sold, there's at least 3 or 9 PlayStation consoles. So that's how much PlayStation is basically outselling Xbox. So Xbox basically has, if you are calling it a race, they have lost this generation and are not doing well. Let's not even talk about what these companies are doing in regards to Nintendo Switch 1 that just came out. That's a whole other story. We're just going to talk about PlayStation and Xbox right now, because Xbox has lost this generation, but rumor had it that Xbox wanted to start the next generation at least a year before PlayStation to get a jump start. But now with the tariffs, I don't know if they'll do that. But the question is when Xbox starts the next generation, do they bring back the walled garden approach? Because to me, it sounds to me like the only reason why they're putting their exclusive games, because the idea was to keep a lot of these games exclusive to Xbox. The reason why they're putting them on other platforms is that the development costs for these games are not going to be made back with, number one, Game Pass, because Game Pass, there's not enough people on Xbox, which is the only place that Game Pass is right now, to justify the development costs of these games. And then you would have to sell games, and then people on Xbox, most likely if you are on Xbox, you are using Game Pass and probably not buying games. I'm sure there are outliers out there like me. I prefer to own my games, even though mostly it's on Xbox, it's digitally that I would own something. I mean, I do occasionally buy a disc for Xbox, but when the discs are now becoming launchers, I'd rather just buy the game digitally at that point, if it's not even on the disc. But if these games are not selling on Xbox, that is why they are moving these games over to PlayStation, because they have to sell these games. And it is showing Xbox that people want to play these games, because the number one sellers on PlayStation right now are the Xbox games that were moved over from Xbox. So people want to play these games. They're just not on the Xbox console. So if Xbox, because Xbox has sit there and said that exclusives do not sell consoles, and that's got to be the biggest line of BS that I've ever heard from an executive when Phil Spencer said that at an interview. because absolutely exclusives sell consoles. I bought an Xbox One back in the day for Dead Rising 3, which was an Xbox exclusive. And that was one game that I got there, and that was pretty much the one game that I played on the Xbox One, and I pretty much didn't play anything on that system, and I wound up actually giving that system to my nephew. I regretted giving it later on when the games started coming in 2018 and they announced all these studios. I was like, oh, I need my Xbox back, but it was too late. I had given it. But I got a series system because I kept being told that games were coming. The games eventually came, and then all of a sudden now the games are going to PlayStation. I was like, I could have probably not bought an Xbox, although there still are games that are exclusively on the Xbox platform that are not on PlayStation. So there is stuff there, but I barely even turn on my Xbox right now, my Series X. So yeah, but what if Microsoft decided to bring the exclusives back and put the walled garden back up for next generation? I mean, with the amount of studios and the amount of games that are coming, I mean, I think they've said publicly in court that Call of Duty and the next Elder Scrolls game, Elder Scrolls 6, I guess it is, that is coming out will be on other platforms. But I mean, if they didn't really start development to put it on other platforms yet, what's to say that they don't just take, like, I've seen something said that if they already announce it for other platforms, then they have to continue that development. But from what I understand, originally, I believe Indiana Jones was, or Starfield. Starfield was originally planned for PlayStation when Bethesda had it. But when Xbox took over Bethesda, they said, hey, and they shut down the PlayStation development and made it exclusively to Xbox. So they could technically stop everything and do that, and then try to get a foothold in the next generation. And then if it doesn't work out, then they could start porting stuff over to PlayStation, or do it that way. Or they could even do it that they do timed exclusives, where things are exclusive to the new Xbox console, and then do that. I mean, this is what Xbox fans, the diehards, were dreaming about. And we're talking about, oh, we're going to win the generation. We have all these games coming. And then no one was on the system. They probably crunched the numbers and said, hey, this is not going to work. Anyway, like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell notification to know when I put out the next video. And you all have a great rest of your day. Later.